Okay. Our interview this morning is with Alvin Durboraw. Alvin was born in July of 1924 at Gothenburg, Nebraska. He served in the United States Marine Corps from 1940. Actually, he went in before the start of the Second World War, and he was in through the war, got out in 1946. His highest rank attained was Corporal. We are doing this interview in Burleson, Texas. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm no relation to Alvin. In the room with us is Alvin's daughter April, also Milton Gibson and Gary Burton, who do the camera work. This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress and also for Operation Remember at the City of Burleson. And with that little intro, Alvin, you can tell us your story, sir, just the way you want to tell it.
Okay, well, I was born in Gothenburg, Nebraska, July the 6th, 1924. My parents were Cecil and Sarah Durboraw. And we had, I had a sister at that time, and later on my parents had three of us, three boys. And our father was a tenant farmer and worked strictly farms. The thing that I remember is we lived in Colorado, we lived in Oklahoma, we lived in Nebraska, and naturally, and also Kansas at that time. And then by the time I got about 8 years old, we were living in Tarawa, Oklahoma, and my father was working for John Paul Jones, a big farmer up there. And then my father thought we ought to move to Arkansas, where his mother was and his brother was, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So we moved there the year I just don't remember. But I know that the Joneses were just great people, and we enjoyed our stay there. And until we left, we had a great time with the people themselves. And it was high on the hog living, because we were used to poor folks. And then when we got to Arkansas, Mountainburg, Arkansas, my father and I cut wood, did everything that we could to make a living. We did that for a couple of years, so I must have been about 8 or 9 years old. And then we moved to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and my father was still a laborer, and I worked along with him. And I guess it was about 1935, my sister, who was 15 years old at that time, died with spinal meningitis. And then my brother Clifford and I contacted the disease, and we were down and out. My daddy was taking care of us, and he got pneumonia. They went to the hospital. He went to the hospital. We were getting along pretty good, but my daddy died within 4 days. So that left us kids all alone. Johnson, who was a county doctor, sent letters to all of our relatives. None of them wanted us, naturally. And anyway, so we ended up at, in the meantime, my sister died. We buried her, and then my daddy died, buried him. And then after that, well, there was 3 boys left. And so we went to the Rosalie Tillis Children's Home in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And that's where I stayed until 1941. And in 1941, I was 17 years old, and you couldn't stay in the home after you're 17. So they wanted to know what I wanted to do, and I said, well, put me in the Marine Corps. So we went down and enlisted in the Marine Corps, and joining the Marine Corps on August 11th, really the 12th, I took a train to Little Rock, and then I took a train from there to El Paso and then to San Diego, where I had boot camp. So in boot camp, that was a 8-week period, and I really enjoyed it because it was also different. I loved the training, being in shape, and so forth like that. And one Sunday, I was walking out to the gate early in the morning, preparing to go to a church down in San Diego. And the guy at the gate held up his hand. He was on the phone. Yes, sir. No, sir. Okay, I'll do it. Yes, sir. No, sir. So forth like that. And he slammed the phone down and he looked at me. He said, "We're at war. Get back to your barracks." So I hiked back to the barracks, ran like hell. And so we were at war, and every night we would go to the sand boondocks, waiting for the Japanese to come in. And so that went on until right after the first of the year, and they transferred me to 3rd Battery, 10th Marines, and we immediately went to Brawley, California, to do training and get in condition. We were there for about 30 days. We came back, we went aboard ship to learn how to make landings, and we did that for 2 months out of San Diego. And I guess on June the 1st of 41, we took off. And we didn't know where we was going, and nobody did, naturally. And so I enjoyed the open seas. I enjoyed the flying fish. I just enjoyed seeing the world. We stopped in Tagaptabu and had a nice visit there. And then we got back aboard ship. And on August the 7th, we ended up in the Gulf there at Guadalcanal. My outfit did not go ashore that day, August 7th, and we were in reserve, really. And so the next day, the 8th, we landed at Gavudu in Tarawa, and we had to clean out really what was left. We did that, and it was really terrible conditions, but you know, that's life. Poor food, dead bodies coming out of the water. Up in the on land, the water table was about 1.5 feet. So if you buried a guy, he was going to come back up when the water came in. So we were there until about 30 days, and it got so bad, mosquitoes, flies, and everything, they moved us over to an island called Macombo. And from Macombo, we enjoyed a little bit of relaxation there until October the 25th, and they decided we had to go to Guadalcanal because it was pressure on the guys over there. So we took a ship across. It was a U.S. Seminola and a YP boat, and they took a lot of aviation gas. We took a lot of aviation gas with it, plus artillery rounds, 75 millimeter. We got over there at Guadalcanal, all right, and the boats came back. The boats were loaded up and started back, and they got about halfway, and out of Savo Island, there was 2 Japanese destroyers and a cruiser coming after. So we headed east to draw them away from Guadalcanal. So when we got to, I guess we must have gone half mile or so forth, and the Japs started firing over and under until they hit our ships, and then we abandoned ship and was out there. And we thought they was going to come and get us, but they didn't, thank the Lord. Immediately, as I understand it, an artillery shell or a coastal gun shell from Guadalcanal was fired and hit the leading destroyer turret and blew it up. So I guess the Japs thought that the island had them zeroed in, and they turned around and went back out. But the airplanes got them after they got out there. And we took care of, we just took care of the part of the front lines from October until I think it was about December the 20th, something like that. And then the Army had come in by then, and so we backed out. And in the 1st of March, we loaded aboard ship, went to New Zealand. We relaxed down there for 9 months, and then we got back aboard ship and went to Tarawa. And it was pretty rough. And we lost a few good men. And I was in the 3rd wave, and as we were going in, there was a destroyer on a reef, and he was being pounded good. We could hear the shells hitting him and so forth. Then all of a sudden we could see those bullets hitting our Higgins boat. So we tried to get across the reef. We couldn't. Tried 4 or 5 times. Finally, a big old Marine up front told the coxswain. He rose up and he took his rifle and pointed it back to the coxswain. He said, you get us the hell out of here. You back up as far as you can, get us over to the pier. So that's what we did. And I didn't get out of the boat. I saw a lot of action. Some guys shouldn't have got out of the boat. A lot of them. When the front ramp went down, we were in 8 foot of water, and the guys were just running out. And a lot of them didn't make it. But I got hit with a piece of shrapnel, pretty good size, in my left shoulder, and so I was safe. The guy in front of me, he got hit a lot of times. And old Red Wilson. And he was all right. So they took me back to the boat, mother boat, and a funny thing was these guys, the coxswains, said, it's going to be a snap landing at Tarawa. He said, we landed a lot of guys in Africa. And we kept telling him, you ain't seen anything yet. So anyway, after I got hit, and the guy came back, he said, well, I'm sorry I ever said anything about y'all's landing. So anyway, they were nice people, good Navy people. So I spent 2.5 years in the Oak Knoll Hospital in Oakley, California, recuperating from the injury. And I worked on the railroad. They got me a job working on a railroad. I worked there. They would send you off for 90 days at the hospital and then bring you back and see how you were progressing and so forth. I do want to go back to Gavudu. I thought this was sort of interesting. The first night there, we had some guys, guards. So I had the 12 to 2 guard. So I got up and fixed me I got a barrel so I could sit on it. And I was sitting there for about an hour or so and just rolling it back and forth, getting sleepier. And I noticed that the waves hitting the island, you couldn't hear them at first, and then you begin to hear a little more of them waves coming in a little stronger. And I thought, that must be a ship out there or something. It's got to be. Well, this went on for about a half an hour, and the first thing I do, I'm sitting there, my head down, and a rifle across like this. A Japanese searchlight hit me straight on. And I didn't move an inch, because we didn't want them to know that there's anybody on the island. So he did that about 5 minutes. They did it about 5 minutes. And then they went over here to about halfway to Tanabogo, and then switched it back real fast, see if I was still there. And I was still there, still the same position. And that was funny that I put together the lapping of the water and even thinking there'd be a ship out there. And that's about it. That's my
You grew up during the Depression.
yes, sir.
I suspect farming was a little tough up there
Yeah.
where you were.
Oh, let me finish this. When I got out of the service, I went to Little Rock, Arkansas, and stayed with some people, Tucker. And I went to school at Little Rock Junior High, and and the next year I went to TCU in Fort Worth. I graduated in 1950. I went to work in Dallas at a large financial institution, and I worked for them, and then my boss started a company, and I went to work for him, and over the years I opened up 36 finance offices for him. California, New Mexico, Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and enjoyed that immensely until my boss got killed, and the company, his brother took over, and matter of opinion, his brother didn't know anything about the business. So I quit. I went to work for CIT, and they didn't keep their promise. They were trying to convert over from discount loans to regular personal loans. And the guys, the managers in there, when I go in, they said, "We're not going to help you, boy. We're not going to help you." So I got tired of that. So I talked to a couple of friends of mine, and I invested with them, and we started our own company. And it was so good that I thought, well, I'll buy them out and have my own. So I bought them out, and a guy named Ernest Saldana and I had our own companies then. And that would happen until I had a heart attack in '84. And that quit my work. And that's about it.
I was gonna ask you about the schooling. When you were helping your dad, you didn't have time to go to school.
That's right.
So when you went in the Corps, I guess when you were in the home in Fort Smith, if I have that right, Fort Smith, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you go like to grammar school or elementary school? Did you go to school while you were there, Alvin?
I went to Little Rock Junior College. Now, my last 2 years, well, the first time I ever went to school was the 4th grade. They put me in the 4th grade.
And where was that?
And that was in Fort Smith, Arkansas. And I got out of Peabody School, and then I went to Fort Smith Junior High. And in the meantime, I think what happened, I just don't know. I was adopted out of the home in my 7th year at school. At a family named Shackelford in Cameron, Oklahoma. And he owned a telephone company, and I did all the work to help him. Also went to school, and I went to the 7th grade there, and enjoyed it. And then at the end of the year, he said, "Well, I'm going to take you back to the home." And I said, "That's fine." And so I went back to the home, and I went to the 8th and 9th grade in Fort Smith Junior High. And when I was 17, which is at the end of the 9th grade, that's when I joined the Marine Corps. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, I went up and took a test that junior high school, no, college. And they said, well, you're welcome here. So I took the first year there in Little Rock, and then came to TCU as a sophomore and graduated there in '50.
Go to TCU on a GI Bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good for you. Good for you, sir. Some questions I had here, Alvin. You got on the train in Little Rock, or I'm sorry, you took the train to Little Rock, and then you got another train to Little Rock, to El Paso,
Right.
El Paso to San Diego.
Yes, sir.
Had you ever been on a train before?
Oh, yes, sir. Many
Okay.
times.
Okay,
Many times.
so that wasn't something new?
No,
Okay. But that boat, when you got on the boat to go across the
that was new.
Did you enjoy the ride?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They let you up on deck, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You were on deck all during the day.
Uh-huh.
And it was always, when you go south, it was a time of year when the weather was always good.
Just like going to Hawaii for a vacation.
There you go.
When you were on a burial detail, water table was only 1.5 feet.
Yes, sir.
Did you bury both sides?
No,
U.S. and?
no.
You buried just U.S.
Just-
troops?
No, we just buried
You buried the
the
Japanese?
Japanese.
Oh, okay.
They took the body bags. They took them back to the ship, and
Brought the U.S. boys back here
yeah,
to the States.
right.
Okay. When the ship was shot out from under you, went in the water?
Yes,
thought
sir.
The Japanese were gonna come and pick you up, and they decided they'd just let you drown.
Yeah.
How many other folks how many of you were there
They,
total?
they, between the two boats, there's probably about 40-something, including the crew.
You all get picked up?
Yeah, oh, yes, sir. It took them about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But-
Good. You were single all the time you were in the service? Alvin?
Yes, sir.
When did you get married?
1964.
64.
I was 39 years old. Well,
You looked around a little bit. You made a good selection.
yeah, I sure did.
You bet, sir.
And, well, I'd seen so many divorces that I didn't want that. But it ended up after 36 years, divorce, and that was all right.
You mentioned a few names. There was the fellow that was in front of you on the Higgins boat. Any other people that, in those war years, that made a special impression? Guys maybe went out of their way to help you out or to teach you something, Alvin, or somebody maybe that you took under your wing?
Well, I had 2 friends from Utah. One was Joe Osoro, well, more than 2, and Joe Church, and a guy named Henry Etchemendy. Henry, about 4 or 5 years ago, I attended a 2nd Marine Division meeting out in Reno, Nevada, and Henry was there, and he lived in Reno. He was also at one time a mayor of Reno, and he was also a legislative person. And I met him. We had a good time out there together. And then when I came back, let's see, that meeting was in September. We telephoned each other quite often. And in December, he was decorating his house and he fell off inside. He fell off a stepladder, broke his leg, And when he broke his leg, they took him to the hospital, and they tried the new way, you know, operate on you instead of putting a cast on you. They took him out, and they didn't stay with him, and he died. Big loss. Big friend.
Two and a half years stay in the hospital.
Yes, sir.
But if I understood, did they have you on a work program where you would go out? No,
No.
It was all 2.5 years.
Well, it wasn't what you call a work program. The doctor says, look, I want you to get out and go and use your arm as much as you can. So he thought if I went to work for the railroad, moving cars and so forth, I could really use my arm. And I did. And I really progressed quite a bit. And I was out for 90 days, and then they wouldn't let me go back. They wanted me to go to some of these resorts where you could ski, or in Idaho and Colorado, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want, because I figured if I get on a pair of skis, I'll break my arm, sure enough. So I didn't go.
Backing up a little bit, when you went to the home in Fort Smith, where'd your brothers go? You had two
They
brothers.
went with us.
So the
Three of us together, yes, sir.
They go, did they enlist in the war?
Yes. Clive, next to me, was in the Navy, and his ship, LST, at Tinian, his ship sank a Jap sub.
Wow.
And that was pretty good.
For an LST, it sure was.
Well, like he said, it was an easy shot. They came up almost next to him and had to. And so they just peppered them with
40 millimeters.
no, it was a 3-inch.
3-inch. Okay.
3-inch until they sank them.
Wow.
So, and my other brother was in the United States Air Force, and he was in the Burleson airlift. I kind of think he got screwed up there.
I don't have anything else unless you think of anything, Alvin, but it's a very interesting story. How you started, things being tough in the Depression, time in the Corps, and then obviously a lot of perseverance, a lot of drive there to go through TCU, and then all the work you did. You really progressed there in the financial world. It's
Yes, sir, I sure did. I loved them.
certainly very successful.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate your time this morning.
Well, I appreciate it.
Tell the story, and we appreciate your time defending the US of A.
Thank
bet.
you.
It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you, Alvin.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.